part 1 of this section, I alluded to the idea that cotangent, secant, and cosecant were reciprocals. And all that means is that to find the cotangent, you just flip the tangent. It's 1 over the tangent, or you just flip the answer. Same with secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So really, there's only 3 ratios that you need to know: sine, cosine, and tangent, and then you need to know what reciprocal goes with that. One way that's interesting to remember is you have tangent goes with cotangent. Notice that there's a co. Sine goes with cosecant, and secant goes with cosine. So when you are pairing things up, one of the angles, one of the ratios will have a co and one of them won't. So that's just kind of an interesting way to remember that. And I know I didn't put any angles there, but I'm not actually describing the ratios right now. But I guess technically they should all have some sort of an angle, because you don't want to have a ratio without an angle. It just doesn't make any sense. So how can we put all of this together and solve some problems? Well, maybe we know the sine of some angle. So maybe we know the sine of the angle is 9 over 10. Well, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that the ratio of the opposite over the hypotenuse is equal to 9 over 10. And so what we can actually do is we can draw our triangle. Here's angle A. We've got a 90-degree angle somewhere. And so I know that the sides will be opposite is 9 and the hypotenuse is 10. Then I can use Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. 9 squared plus b squared equals 10 squared. And so when I do 10 squared minus 9 squared, I get 19. And I could give a decimal, or I could just leave the square root of 19. In these particular problems, it's not a bad idea just to leave the square root. It's not necessary for you to get a decimal here, so just leave the square root. That's perfectly fine here. And now we can find all the values that we need. Cosine A is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent A is going to be opposite over adjacent. Cosecant A is going to be the reciprocal of sine. It'll be 10 over 9. Secant A is going to be the reciprocal of cosine. It'll be 10 over 19. And cotangent A will be the reciprocal of tangent. It'll be square root of 19 over 9. And now we have all 6 values. One was given, and we found the rest of them. You can even do this when you know the value, maybe not as a ratio. So what if we knew that tangent of A was 0.577? Well, here's the thing about these ratios. We are dealing with triangles that the ratio will be the same no matter what the size of the triangle is. So think about our similar triangles. So if we have similar triangles, the ratios will be the same. They might be larger numbers or smaller numbers, but it'll still be the same ratio. So even though it's a little weird to think of what I'm about to do, it's perfectly okay for us to say that tangent A is going to be 0.577 over 1. Okay. Now, my sides might be different products of that, or I might multiply by 2 or something like that, but the ratio will always be 0.577 to 1. So maybe these aren't the exact lengths of the triangle, but that ratio will be the same. I could multiply both of those by 2, I would have a bigger triangle, but the ratio will still reduce to the same thing. So even though it's not a fraction like the other one, it's okay. Put it over 1 and you've made it into a fraction. We do need to find the missing side. So we do that with Pythagorean theorem. 1 squared plus 0.577 squared, and then you take the square root. And here, since we have so many decimals, we're not going to be able to get a nice pretty square root. So go ahead and get a decimal for a question like this one. Well, now that we have that, we can find the other trig ratios. We can find sine of angle A because it's opposite over hypotenuse, so 0.577 over 1.15. We can find cosine of angle A, it's 1 over 1.15. We can find tangent, well, we already knew this one, it's 0.577 over 1. We can do cotangent. It's the reciprocal of tangent, so it would be 1 over 0.577. We can do secant. It is 1 over the cosine, or the reciprocal, 1.15 over 1. And cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. We have 1.15 over 0.577. I'm going to leave you with 2 practice problems before you attempt your homework. You'll see the answers are given next to the try-it problems. You don't have those answers in your notes, but they're here in this video. So you can always pause this video, see if you get these same answers, and if you do, you're ready for your homework.